Alright, well come along here into Shroud of the Avatar. This is our release 3 in our pre-release builds. Let's go see if we can do a little crafting. We're here in a town of Owl's Head, and in Owl's Head there happens to be this little area over here where we happen to have built a number of the crafting stations. You know, here is, for example, the carpentry table, the blacksmithing area. We also can smelt metals to make some of the base pieces we need for some of that blacksmithing. There's the tanning and dyeing. We can even do sew some clothing and things here. You can actually make fabrics or make yarns and threads here at the textiles table. And then over here is a sawmill where we can mill some of the boards we might need for over in the carpentry table. So, for example, let's start by making a chair. Chair might be useful for me to have in my own home. I can actually pull out here my inventory and go to my crafting, my list of crafting ingredients. Here is what's currently on my milling station, which is nothing at the moment, and I can bring up my recipe book to look at the recipes that I already have. Now, what's interesting about recipes is that once I know a recipe, or to first learn a recipe, it's an experimentation or word of mouth spreading. So I can come over here, for example, to my known milling processes, and I can now process some wood to get some timbers. I can make boards. I can make wooden poles, which are good for like turning the legs of chairs with. And so in this case, let's start at the very beginning. Let's start up with taking a chunk of wood, for example, putting it out on that crafting table, and a cubit measure, which I can put on that crafting table as well. And now when I craft, you can hear the blade turning there on the milling station. And I still have my cubit measure, and I got some tree bark, some boards, and some timbers. I take those all off the table. I also now might, if I make a chair, I might want some wooden poles. I have a shortcut I can do. Since I know that recipe, I can just click directly on the recipe in my recipe book, and those items that I would use are directly put out there. In this case, it's a wood rasp and a board are used to turn a board into a round wooden leg. So I can craft that as well and pick those up off the milling station. And now I can take those from the milling station over here onto the carpentry table. And here on that carpentry table, I can now sit back and go to my list of ingredients and look at my things I know to build out of carpentry. And a chair, I built a chair just earlier today. It was the first chair I built. And in fact, for me to build that first chair, I actually literally had to go find out from someone else on the team what the steps were that were required. In this case, it requires a carpentry hammer. Here's my carpentry hammer. I put that out on the table. A wooden pole, which I just made there a minute ago. So I can pick up that wooden pole and put that out on the table. As well as I need some boards, and the boards would like make the seat or the back. And I need 2 wooden boards, so I'll be sure to grab 2 and take them over here as well. So there you can see, it looks like I took 4 wooden boards, so hang on, that won't work if I take that many. So, oh, it says 2, sorry, the weight was 4. And I can craft that. And sure enough, I now have a chair in my inventory as well. And so now I can take that chair, and when I get a player house, I can go set that chair down in that house. But that same process works with all of the other things I might want to do. Like, for example, here, let me come over to this smelting station. And in the smelting station is where I will be able to melt down ores to make ingots, bars, and wire of various metals that might be usable in other kinds of activities. And so in fact, if I go over here to, let's see if I have any smelting. Where's my smelting? Where's my smelting? There it is, alphabetic. And so I want to make, for example, an iron ingot. What that takes me is a chunk of coal that can be brought back from miners who go out to the mines and bring it back. It requires an ingot mold, and everything we're building here in the game actually goes back to as raw and base pieces of equipment as we can. So even that mold could be made from another mold and the right process. Iron ore that was brought back from somebody you know, out in the wilderness, and smelting tongs so I can pick up the hot metal. That was actually made for me by a blacksmith. All these parts and pieces are made and remade. Duplicates are made to create for other players in game. So now when I've clicked craft in that case, I still have the mold. I now have an iron ingot, and I still have my tongs. And now, if I want, I can go back over here and go to the blacksmithing station. And here at the blacksmithing station, I can now go back to my my recipes again, see what things in blacksmithing I know how to make. And the only one I actually made this morning, I blacksmithed a lantern frame, because again, light sources are particularly useful. Although, to be honest, even though I made this frame, I'll make another frame here. Oh, I don't have the ingredients. I have my smithing hammer, but I don't have the iron lantern blank. So I actually would have to go back to the smelting station and make the base piece that I then would finish forging. So I can come back over here, bring up the recipe, go back to smelting, and there it is, my iron lantern blank. That required a chunk of coal, an iron ingot, and a lantern mold to get that mold of those main parts, and again my smelting tongs. So there we go, I've now made an iron lantern blank. I can close these, come back again, oops, over to the blacksmithing station, and now go back in here to blacksmithing, and I can make my iron lantern frame, which required that blank and a smithing hammer to kind of whack it into shape. And so now I have, once I figure out, once I find all the rest of the parts for making a lantern, which might require, I actually don't know, I haven't ever made one yet, so, but my guess is that I need to get some oil and a wick and maybe make the oil reservoir, which I can also usually make out of things like sheets of metal. So it's an extremely thorough crafting process, all the way from raw ingredients up through the finished goods. And our intention is to not compete at all with the player economy. And so everything you find to buy, like for example these chunks of coal and you know, other parts and pieces that are here at these vendors, our intention is that as much as possible these will have been made or found by other players who will have brought them into town and sold them. And so the full history of not only the ingredients, but especially the finished goods, will be known. So those finished goods, whether they're a sword or a chair, it'll be known, you know, who made it, and versus sell things to players that were invented, they were fabricated magically out of the ether for players to buy in shops. You know, our intention is that all of the goods are things that that came from and through the player economy. So there you go, crafting.